This is the pattern. Copy the size you want and think about if you want the bunny ears or the mohawk style. I use scraps of fabric from jersey, minky and fleece. The fleece is going to be the lining, so I start with that. This piece should be on fold and I add 1 centimeter around and cut it. This piece is not on fold and I add 1 centimeter and cut it. The fabric is right sides together and I sew these sides with a stretchy seam. And then I sew this top of the hat, and it's important to do a curvy seam so it doesn't get pointy on the tops. Fold this piece in the middle with the seams parallel to each other and make a notch where you will have the front and the back of the hat. Put this piece right sides together with this piece, and the notch should be right next to the seam in the back and in the middle of the front. And then you sew around this with 1 centimeter seam allowance and a stretchy seam. If you're going to do the bunny ears, you cut the ears in jersey fabric, you add 1 centimeter. And then you cut 2 pieces in the minky. Make notches where there is going to be a fold. Put the minky and the jersey right sides together and sew around these sides. Cut away any excess fabric and turn the right sides out. You can use a pin to help you with this top of the ears. Make a fold according to the notches. Pin it. If you want, you can do a decorative straight stitch around the ears like this. And you do the other ear in the same way. Now I've started with the outer fabric, but before I sew this seam I put the ears in between. Think about how you should put them in so you get them in the right way. They should be on the sides, pin around and sew around. Turn the outer fabric with the right side out, and then you can put the lining with the right sides together with the outer side, and you pin all the way around the bottom edge of the hat. I also want to make some ribbons for the ear flaps. In the jersey fabric I cut straps of fabrics about 4 centimeters wide, and I fold them right sides together and sew a seam. Here you can see that I used a safety pin and I turn the right sides out. I need 2 pieces about 20 centimeters each, so I cut these in half. These ribbons I pin on the bottom of the ear flaps in between of the 2 fabrics. And then I sew around the bottom edge with 1 centimeter seam allowance, but I leave an open in the back. The opening should be about 8 centimeters. Before you turn the right sides out, it's good if you have cut away any excess fabric. Turn the right sides out and then you put the lining inside of the hat. In the back you make sure that the seam allowance is folded inside, and then you pin around this edge. Make sure that it looks nice, and then you sew a seam close to the edge around it. At the edge of the ribbons I've tied a small knot, and now your hat is finished. If you want to sew this mohawk style, you do it in a different way. You start by sewing these darts right sides together. There is a pattern you can use for the mohawk, but if you want to make your own style, you can do like this. You put the hat 1 centimeter from the edge of the fabric you're going to use, so you get the right shape, and then you make the upper shape. Think about that you need at least 2 centimeter seam allowance, one for the bottom and one for the top. And then you need 2 pieces, of course, and you sew the upper edge together, and then you fold the right sides out. You pin it in between of the 2 hat pieces like this, and then this piece should be very narrow to the seam allowance at the end. And then it should look like this when you turn it right sides out. And then you continue as you have seen earlier in this clip. But this time the seam should be in the middle of the back, and the seam should be in the middle of the front piece.